name is Katlego Tsimolofo-Leverte, practicing architect, interior designer, and educator. Also a graduate from Botswana University of Technology.
Hello everybody, I'm Peter Verwalt. I'm a professional senior architectural technologist. I have my own practice. I have an interest in architecture, design, and history, and video as well, and that's what brought me to this podcast.
Okay, today's topic, or now the topic is architecture versus this.
Oh, first of all, where are we shooting?
We are shooting from Cappuccino's at South Downs in Centurion. Thank you for hosting us.
Beautiful place. But let's get to the problem that we started with. Architecture versus design. Honestly, guys, I want to hear this, and I'm gonna be looking for
Let's first go on. What do you see as architecture, and what do you see the meaning of design is?
Okay. Architecture, I feel like it's the whole project itself. It's the whole business of it. Because you enter into a practice and you realize that before you can even think about building something, right? You have to understand that this is a business someone needs to be part with, right? So that's, for me, that's architecture in a sense whereby it's business related. If you want to talk about architecture in a theory one, we just spoke about it in the previous episode. That's the theoretical part of it itself. But then when you go into practice, that's perfect. Because now we're saying what is architecture versus design, right? Now what is design? Design is what maybe you might get the chance to do in architecture, because most of the time, bro, it's painful. You know, it's okay though. It's okay. Yeah.
My take on design is, especially in the epitome of design, is achieving the maximum out of minimum input. By that I mean, if I'm going into design and the aim is to create a structure, right? In truth, you can go into a junkyard, come out with material to create a physical structure, right? Through design, you are able to synthesize, right, the raw materials you have through drawings in order to achieve a desired result. Right. When one has achieved efficiency in design, one should be able to extrapolate more than one utilization for that which you have already designed. Right. The nation I have a respect for when it comes to design and design excellence, that would be currently the Japanese, you know. In terms of balancing materiality with design fluidity and design efficiency, and also longevity of whatever they're producing. Regardless of whether it's short or long, at the end of the day, it achieves elegance and in execution, right? When it comes to architecture, on the other hand, like I said in the previous episode, master building, right? Whether it's IT, whether it's buildings, at the end of the day, it's the construction process of an item which we're referring to as buildings, right? Now, it's not that every building is a well-designed piece of architecture, and it's not that all buildings are architecture in any form or fashion. In some cases, one can say the definition can be relative, because another person's trash can be another person's treasure, right? And what I would say is, typical example, if you look at the Pompidou building, right? I don't particularly enjoy that building.
It's not nice in real life as well.
However, in terms of the understanding of the manifestation of design, I get it. You know.
It serves its function.
Right. Which is what exactly?
What the design, as I understand it, is that it takes all the mechanical parts of a building and put it on the outside for ease of access, and makes that practical application and aesthetic. Not an aesthetic I like, but that was the design intent.
For a mechanical engineer, that might be joy. right, in terms of design and architecture. For an artist and interior designer who happens to be an architect, that's a completely different thing, right? So it would, yeah.
But it's an experiment in architecture that needs to happen for you to understand this is not a timeless design at the end of the day. The same as, in my opinion, Russian deconstructivism. It's brutal, it works for post-apocalyptic for a reason, but it's not a timeless design. It doesn't, you're not going to look at it in 100 years and like, that's pretty, that's nice. Yeah, for me, architecture is just the planning and the construction of a building used for human occupation in some shape or form. Where design is the planning of something to function. So it's not just architecture, it can be anything else as well.
Yes.
So design, for me, design goes hand in hand with architecture. You can't have good architecture without design, but design can encompass anything else. The same with the Pompidou Center. It is surrounded by buildings we today see as timeless and beautiful buildings. And the reason I say that is all the buildings that were not timeless were destroyed and replaced with something else.
And that's what happened.
And that's how we see what is a timeless design at the end of the day. It is neoclassicism, which if you do it today, it's not that on.
Not that on. But actually would jump for it. Like that's what. But you know, crazy people.
Oh yeah, you get some crazy dictators that still want it. And it is a timeless design, but it's not something you would want to promote for a client today. Especially on the design topic we shall not name, you won't promote it to a client today. You will rather have a more modern design feel to it, whatever that is. I think not modernism, they have another word for it, contemporary design today, which encompasses many designs. It's a word that is being used for many types of designs at the end of the day.
That's one thing that usually stresses me, not like deep stress, but stresses me when someone says, I want something contemporary, can you do it? And I'm like, what type of contemporary? You know, because you realize that contemporary now is just, you know, all the types of architecture made to accommodate today's type, right? So, but then back to the design going hand in hand with architecture. From like I said, architecture is more like a business and design is part of it, where it goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that I think I have went to or rose to acknowledge and love a lot, right, was that every time when I'm doing something very trivial, like a windows, right, the only way for me to enjoy doing the window schedule is if I think about the window from a design perspective, right? And I don't just look at it like, I need to do another window. Because now I get tired, like I'm in SAVS, standard mama, this, okay, it must be like this, you know? Now when I start thinking about the design factor of it, I enjoy it, because now I'm like, okay, I need it to be like dark, right? Because then it opens like this and it's dark and someone is sitting there, you know, because now that's the part of design, because now you're thinking about actually the use, the fun, you're actually working around it, but deep down, they're just doing.
Well, I mean, design is ever evolving. I mean, typical example is nomadic architecture from ancient years versus nomadic architecture in the 21st century. We could call tents nomadic architecture, right? But in terms of material efficiency and physical ability to carry it around versus times where you had to really take resources from the environment, you understand that now you are in the 21st century, you have certain luxuries which you can apply in terms of what you need, right? I mean, we are at a point where the design of a scissors, you can design to launch your own scissors company for any random reason because you like scissors or you like pens, right? And that's a tool which you are now reinventing for yourself. I mean, you remember there's a big pen that's been circulating for a while, and the 1956 version versus the 2023 version looks the same, but I'll bet you the inks are not the same. Back in the day, if you put an ink pen inside your white shirt pocket, chances are it would leak.
Without to pay, yeah.
Right. Whereas now, chances of leaking are are less, and through the design process and the troubleshooting of that item.
Just the ball in the ballpoint pen is so smooth. If you make it as large as the Earth, the mountains won't even be a kilometer high. It'll be so smooth. So it's such good design, space age technology, just for that little ball. So it does it. So it's incredibly difficult to make. I think they went through 1,000 iterations before it got working, something like that. So again, that design.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is, it's not necessarily that you're going to get the first iteration of your concept correct. However, it allows you to troubleshoot it, even when it comes to model building, which is something that a lot of people neglect. Model building actually helps you to interact with a physical material item in order to see its issues.
I think we should call it experimenting. So experimenting design is not a bad thing. It's a very good thing. And with model building, without building a scale 1-to-1 model, an actual building smaller scale models help us to experiment with the look, with the feel, with materials, to see what could work and could not work. And that's also something, if you look back at when new classicism in the Renaissance started up again, there was a lot of expensive miniature models built to get a feel. So if someone wanted to build a cathedral, they will first build a 1 to 50 model.
It was compulsory at the time.
Yeah,
Because they don't have
exactly. So 1 to 50 model to go around to get funds for this church. And that's how they helped experiment. Because a guy will say, I will fund you, but I want a statue of this saint in that corner. Then you have to fiddle with and make it.
And to put it in perspective for today's students, right? Model building, as you guys just explained, is the most crucial thing that you have to do. You can't ignore it, because the moment you because there's three different people, I think, maybe two. Let me say three, but I don't need a third one. But I'm suspecting there's a third one, right? Where one is, some people are crazy out there. One is someone that thinks in 3 dimensions.
Yes.
Right? Now they can literally place themselves in the space that they've imagined, right? Then there's a person who's 2D. So he just can see what can happen on a layout, but can't really imagine the space like that, right? And there's a third person. And there's a person who just does. They just do it.
It naturally flows as they design.
So now that person, I would suggest you build models, because you can't just say tools, because you're destroying to what? You
need a medium to explain.
Right? And then you make that medium to explain, like that model or maybe the sketches or whatever, and then you use that, like you guys said, that pen went through the 1,000 iterations before it became like what it is now. Same thing with the design. And I think I've mentored enough students, like by intuitive, for me to be annoyed and say, listen, stop jumping between designs, right? Literally stick with that one and then refine it. Literally do this with it, refine it. Like you said, 1,000 iterations. And how do you refine it? Build models.
So, how would you then, on this topic, apply design to architecture? How would you say define not architecture design, but the way as architects we use design to assist in the architectural space?
I thought
I think, we just, literally build models, because now when you do that, you're actually helping yourself, the client, because now they actually see that. Because now you can actually put it within, just we take this as a business, you have it within your business to say, this is what we're working with. I feel like it will be easier to your clients. With clients, they can also see that. But then when it comes back to design, that model is not just to show the person, it's for you to judge yourself on what you're thinking.
In a lot of businesses which are thriving, especially your global businesses, research and design is critical in terms of refining innovation and making the technology you have being relevant to the context, right? For instance, with we architects, a lot of us speak about Villa Savoy, which in terms of its innovation at the time, columns versus slabs versus roof gardens versus strip windows.
Lintel versus vaulted ceiling.
Yes. That's efficiency of material while achieving decent volume, right? stacking a house versus sprawling a house, you know. In that, the occupation of space and footprint on the site in a sprawled aspect versus in a elevated volume aspect. I mean, like I said, space is finite in terms of our horizontal abilities on the earth, but we can still go up. Villa Savoye is one of those architectures that have helped us achieve efficiency.